I don't know about you guys, but I love that countdown because that countdown means that we're up for our next presenter. Today, joining us is Sara DeWitt.
Hi, guys.
She's going to give us an awesome session. So if you've been at any of our other sessions, there is nothing new, nothing different. We have a moderator in the chat who is kind of helping us make sure that the signal is going out. So far, everything has been going great. If you have questions, we need you to put them in the chat box so we can bring them up later. That's Amanda. She is our person out in YouTube land, kind of watching, making sure everything is going out great. So sit back, relax. Miss Stewart, wave Miss Stewart.
Hey, you guys. Good afternoon.
Specialist at Davis High School. We're here for you guys. We're just going to sit here, and Miss Stewart will be watching the chat. I will be bouncing back and forth from some other things. So, Miss DeWitt, it is all yours.
All right, awesome. So initially this was called Playtime in Progress in a Post-Pandemic World, but COVID has decided to last a little bit longer than any of us want, and by a little bit, I mean a lot bit. So it's Playtime in Progress in a Pandemic World. Just a little bit about me. This is my 6th year of teaching and my 4th in Aldine. I'm originally from New Hampshire, so I moved down here a while ago. In line with the gaming theme, I'm definitely chaotic good. I myself am a neurodivergent special ed teacher, so I had to think about ways to help my students, and by thinking of ways that didn't help me as a student. So you'll see me be really energetic and kind of nutty. If I start going too fast, tell me and I'll slow down, but chaotic is definitely the way that I run my entire personal life and my professional life, but it works for the kids. I do resource and inclusion right now. I'm working mostly with 4th and 5th graders, and I am every kind of nerd. I recently bonded with a kid over talking about Among Us, and that's not because I just needed something to bond. I actually watch a lot of people play Among Us. So I'm big on the gaming. So there's 2 specific games that I want to talk about today that I use for progress monitoring pretty much always. The first one, because it's slightly shorter, is teachermonstertoread.com. And it's amazing. I credit this for a lot of why some of my resource kids with intellectual disabilities have been able to pick up reading when they hadn't been before. It's really phonics based. So the coolest thing about it is that it really well aligns with CKLA, which is the new Aldine program that we're using. So it really hits those phonics skills. If you've been doing things like Teachers College, you'll notice there's not as much phonics support in there. And when we were doing Teachers College, I used that to supplement plus my own instruction. And I really got kids to go from ABC level readers to FG, even higher at times. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like to set it up. So I'm going to sign out so you guys can see the website. This is the same website for everybody who logs in. So even the kids. For the teachers, it's usually an email. I'm going to log in and kind of show you what it looks like. I can't show you everything because of student names and things like that, but I can kind of show you the front page. So this first, trying to scroll it down correctly. So this first one is like a fake account. If you want to look into it, you can build new students. And if I go down quick, I can skip that part. And I can build new players. Really easy to add new kids. Say the kid's name is Banana. You can add them to groups, which you invent yourself. You can choose which game to start with. But you're probably at the point where you're like, okay, do it, but what are they going to play? What is this going to look like? And when they've done it, you're going to see these 2 options, okay? So this is option 1. This is for people like me who are like, numbers, yay, spreadsheets, yay. This gives you every single student that you have in your classroom working on Teacher Monster, the last time that they logged in, how many times they've played, if that particular game is completed, and what skill they're working on. But this is a lot. This is a lot. It's pretty dense, and it's kind of hard to identify exactly what the kid is doing. So this is the alternate option. These are actual stats from a student that obviously I had a long time ago. He hasn't used teacher monster for a while, so I'm not too worried about like ruining his programming. So I can look here and see exactly what grapheme that the child is working on and which one he's struggling with. I didn't put him on first steps because he didn't need that, but I will kind of model for you what it looks like for the kids in a moment. When it comes to collecting data and doing like progress monitoring for either IEPs or for developing RTI programs, this is awesome because I can look in here and say, okay, so he has these basic ones pretty good. But then if I look, there's one particular place that kind of struck me. So right here, the double L, like as in ball or all, he had 50% accuracy. And just real quick, knowing the population that I serve in Aldine ISD, I'll give you 10 seconds to brainstorm why that might be, because if you think about Aldine and you think about where in Texas I am, which is Houston, you can probably make a guess. So this student is an ELL. He's an English language learner. He probably had a lot of difficulty with exactly how to pronounce this. Is it going to be a y sound? Is it going to be an ol sound? And so because of that, he kind of struggled. We also can see that with the v sound as opposed to the th sound, because those are not, they don't show up the same way in Spanish. And so looking at all of this, I had a really good idea of what he was struggling with and what he was successful with, especially when we come up to these really unique digraphs that our lovely English language decides make sense. So our PH, he really struggled with that. This showed me that I needed to go more in depth with like those diphthongs and digraphs that weren't making a lot of sense to the kids, the ones that you can't understand intuitively, and the ones that don't link immediately when you're switching languages. So this helped me figure out how to teach my ELL student who also had a learning disability, who also had ADHD. So he had a combination of things going for him and a combination of things that were kind of causing him trouble. And this program gave me the exact data I needed to know what to work on. Now, at this point, you're like, okay, talk for an hour, blah, 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 whatever. Let's see what it looks like. You can either have the children sign in with their name and their password, which is just at the top like we signed in as the adult, or you can sign in yourself and click play. It loads up like this, and usually goes a little bit faster, but because I think I'm streaming, it's taking a little bit longer than I'm used to. A really cool thing about it is that once you log in, Google generally has the option to save passwords. The kids can log in themselves. Starts off like this. Ooh.
Hello again. Hit body.
So they start off by picking their monster. This is similar to things that they do in other RPG games or role-playing games. They have to pick their avatar and design it. If they're used to playing games at home, they can start to put themselves in this little guy and start either designing it as somebody that reminds them of themselves. So if I were this kid, I would definitely put glasses because I have glasses, or they can make it somebody completely separate from them. And the way that this runs is that it's teach your monster to read, not your monster teaches you how to read. This is a really good way to get some of those kids who are anxious or embarrassed about their slow process to get out of their own heads about learning those phonics skills. I had a 5th grader start on this, and he would say things like, "Oh my God, I got to get this monster to work." Just because it looks like it's a little kitty thing, it's not that low because it doesn't phrase it as learn phonics. It's your monster can't figure out how to read, teach them. Now there is a limit. If you have a child with who's just an RTI and needs a little bit of support, starting with this level is probably not going to work because it's working on basic phonics.
Arm, head, legs, ears, and horns.
That's one thing I like in particular because it doesn't require the kids to read.
Are you happy with your...
Sure.
Well done. Your monster is waving at you and ready to go on an adventure. Let's go!
One little negative that
Once upon a time, your monster was zooming around the galaxy in his spaceship. He wanted to explore new worlds, and he was imagining all the wonderful things he might find there. Then, one day, a terrible storm came. Your monster's spaceship span out of control and crashed. on a mysterious island. What a big crash! Your monster looked in his repair book, but didn't know how to read it. Oh dear! What could he do? Then he looked around and saw the Island King. "Hello, monster," said the king. "Did you get caught up in that storm too? I lost all my letters in it. If you find my letters, I will help you fix your spaceship, but it is badly broken, and I can only fix one part of it. I will also give you a prize if you find my letter. Which prize would you like?"
So this part is really cute because the kids can start building their avatar. The other thing that I like about it is that it gives you world kind of ideas that you have to make progress, so they can actually visually see the progress.
"Good choice," said the king. "Now can you help me find the letters that make the sound S? Let's learn a new sound."
And this is the very beginning.
As in,
Sun.
can you say
S. S. S.
So you kind of get the idea. The rigor increases as you go, and you actually begin playing games. I really recommend starting this up and starting a model student account for yourself so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like for the kiddos. Because I don't want to like waste your time showing you something that you guys could figure out on your own time. But the cool thing is, this gives me all of this data based on what he was able to do, how he was able to play the games. Again, if you look at this 33%, that's because Y is a really hard word for all of my kids, no matter who it is. And for our ELL kiddos, it's even harder because the Y sound they are not familiar with in this particular context. So that's a little bit about Teach Your Monster to Read. I do like it. It's not my absolute favorite one. That's this next one. Prodigy, I am wearing a Prodigy shirt right now. I presented on Prodigy last year, and Prodigy has saved me for my data updates more times than I can say. I really do vouch for Prodigy on every moment I can. So the cool thing about Prodigy is it starts off, hold on, and it builds, it basically sets up your dashboard for you. If you need to create a new classroom, we can go, hold on, go to classrooms, and then I can go into my active classes or my archived classes. As you can see, I've done this for a long time. This has been something that I've been practicing with since 2018, I think. So if I want to build a new classroom, I click create new class. I'll say TCCA model. And you'll notice that it immediately gives you a grade. However, I could put the class at 8th grade and still give a student 1st grade level skills. That doesn't immediately say that they're only going to get 8th grade level stuff. It's just that when they get assessed and when they get their placement test, that's how high the placement testing will go. Now, sometimes, as you'll see, there's sometimes when you have like a 4th grader who can do 7th grade level skill because they just figure it out. I love when that happens. It's just fun. And it will push them to that level, but it's not going to give them high stuff. You can create your classroom by yourself, import from Google Classroom, or sync it with Clever, which is a particularly convenient thing if you're using either of those to teach in the beginning. Anyway, you'll start with a dashboard like this. It really, it streamlines you really well with it. It gives you a lot of instructions, but this particular class isn't going to show you the parts of it that I really love. So I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. Hold on. This is what the page will look like if you get started. And these are all different kinds that you can look at for particular skill sets. The one that I use the most here is student comprehension, because that's going to give me basically an explicit data piece compiled all into one like very convenient little center. So before we get started with the data, I wanted to show you one of the things that kicks you off with Prodigy. There are a lot of different activities and assignments, and it can be aligned with any curriculum. I believe in the United States and some curriculums outside of the States, but it does Common Core, it does Texas TEKS. So this would be an example of something I believe, this is either second or third grade level. As you can see on the side, they have these crayons so that they can write on the screen if they need to. It'll read it out loud for them automatically. Oops. And the neato thing is that as it reads it out loud, if they're having trouble, they can get a hint with the light bulb. And I find this to be really helpful so that if a child really forgets a step, it can help them with the step. If a child has discovered that they're like, I can't remember how to do this particular multiplication, it'll give them a number chart so they can start doing the multiplication. It has built-in accommodations too, like in this little grid guy here. This grid, you click on it, it gives you fraction strips, it gives you base 10 blocks, gives you counters, and that kind of streamlines it, especially for our special education students who need counters but aren't really a fan of having them on their desk in front of them. This allows them to covertly use these strategies as they're doing their math. And here, you can see explicitly where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are. And this particular student was a special ed student, basic reading learning disability. And so we could see, okay, so in 5th grade math, they were actually doing really well on skills, but they had some prerequisites that they were missing pretty significantly. But with the 1st grade skills, they were solid. So this is a great way on RTI to sort of balance and figure out, okay, what math skills are they missing? What is their particular area where they've noticed and we've noticed that it's just hard for them? So here, this kiddo, 2-dimensional shapes, measurement. I find measurement is hard for a lot of these kids, but it's only one question for each of them. So we can't be guaranteed that that's going to be an inherent error for them. That might be just where they're they make one mistake and the program goes on because they're not actually working on 2D shapes at that moment. They just kind of want to balance and see where they are. Now over here with patterning, we can see that even with 10 questions, they got 70% accuracy. So they're getting there, but they're not fully there. Here you can see they're successful consistently on a 2nd grade level because we have 57 questions completed, 27 minutes spent, and they still got an 86. But what if we have a very specific student and we're trying to figure out why they're not successful? This again is a 5th grade level student, and I had to take a look at their 4th grade data to figure out why they were struggling so much. And when you click on it, you can open it up, and I'll show you exactly how to do this in a minute. And you can open it up and see the exact skill errors and the percentages where there was a problem. So I want you to just take a little bit of a moment and see if you can figure out where the errors might be based on some of the, basically based on the numbers over here and the skill sets over here. So just take a second and look at it, get an idea. If we were able to have like a question answer session, I would have some options and like have some people respond, but this kind of program doesn't really allow for that. But I'd love to see it in the chat, even though I can't see it.
Sarah, just to let you know, you're 20 minutes in, and this is your 20-minute in reminder.
Thank you.
And the chat is blowing up.
Oh,
I
cool.
see Miss Stewart is frantically writing.
Oh. But yeah, the thing that I noticed the most with this kid is that, and I wonder if you guys noticed it, he struggles with word problems. He has a reading learning disability. So perimeter was hard. Interpreting line plots with the most least was hard. And that's also because he had some issues with language. So conversion also was 67%, and that requires knowing a lot of vocabulary, which is kilometer, which one's bigger with a centimeter or a kilometer, and all of that stuff. So this shows me that he needs a lot of support with the word problem piece. How do we figure out word problems? How do we understand the language and the vocabulary of math? And based on this, I actually was about to start him working on a 3rd grade level math vocabulary book when we went back after spring break, but COVID happened, and I feel like that's the end of the sentence that I have to explain. So I got to see a lot of the information of where he was having some trouble. But down here, the distance word problems, he did really well. However, it's still single step. So that means he's not having to interpret quite as much. So he's getting there. He's just not fully there yet. So now I kind of want to show you what it looks like for me. So I'm going to really quickly go down to, I can go basically any range, but I'll go the last 90 days. As you can see, this quote unquote student has done a lot, right? This is actually me. I play the game with the kids, and I also use my account to model for the kids to show them the skills. So I actually teach with Prodigy. For example, we've been doing a lot of composing numbers, specifically with regrouping, because my munchkins are really struggling with this and showing numbers to 100 using base 10 blocks. So I was able to use Prodigy and the questions in the same format that they might see in a virtual method and show them exactly how to do it. This also allows for them to be a little bit more familiar with for how it's going to look as we go. But it also means that they can battle me. And in just a minute, I'll kind of show you what that'll look like. But yeah, so this classroom is limited at 2nd grade. So that's like where the grade level is. But as you can see, it kept assessing me as I kept going and went up to like proportional relationships, which clearly I forgot since 8th grade. And like rational numbers and stuff like that, because it's not going to limit me at 2nd grade just because the class is a 2nd grade class. It's going to keep going. I can also see stuff from a couple of years back if I want to see my own progress. So if I go back to, let's say, November 2019 to November 29th. Okay, well, apparently that doesn't want to show me. All right, well, I'm in holiday season, so never mind. But I can see exactly what I did, say, let's say I wanted to know exactly what happened this past week. I didn't use mine this past week because we were doing assessments, never mind. So right here, I can see what skills were done by the student. We actually just started lessons on fractions. So I can see that I did all of this and these skills. And now I want to show you what it looks like from the student perspective, because if I'm completely honest, it's really fun to play. And I'll show you some of the little mechanisms that make it so good for not only data progress for us as teachers, but a way for the kids to hang out with each other and work together. Hold on. Even during COVID, when they're at least 6 feet apart, when they have to have a mask so they can't see each other's facial expressions. This allows them to have a natural way to interact socially without needing to be physically close. When you have a new character, you can dress them up in any outfit. My kids helped me design this little angel feathery idea. When you have a new student, you can just have them update and click a new teacher. And you have a code in the Playtime area, or not Playtime area, Prodigy dashboard area for the teacher.
Are you playing from home or from school?
So one cool thing that took me a minute to figure out, if they're playing from school, it focuses them very much on the math. It limits some of their activity places that they can go, and they can't battle each other as successfully. It's a lot harder to get there. So it focuses them more on working really hard on those academic skills. Whereas if you're at home, it opens up more worlds and they can battle each other. So they have school time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then on Fridays, I let them go to home so they can battle each other and work almost more on those social skills than just the math. So let's go to the home so I can show you. If they pick the same world, so let's say I picked Cold Hard and my students did as well, we could see each other and we could battle each other. So this is one of the activities, but I want to show you some of the cooler stuff. This is the world that they see. And just like a standard RPG game, there's different quests in each world. Now, again, I've been playing this for a really long time, so I might have succeeded on all of the quests. But they have these other things called Titan battles. And with the Titan battles, you can do a team battle. So you can actually create a new team and wait for your classmates to go together. And one of my favorite moments was 2 years ago, I had one of my kids who was stronger in math than language arts, but still needed the additional supportive resource. And we were doing volume, which is a 5th grade level TEK. And they were doing a Titan battle because the Titan battles were brand new. They were a little anxious about it. They weren't sure how it was going to go. And one of my students was struggling. And before I could even like stand up to help out, this other student who was stronger in math came over and was like, okay, this is how you do this. And if you click here, this is going to help you. And also, if you need any like base 10 blocks or anything. And I just sort of blinked and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool with me, because the motivation there is that everybody is successful so that they can beat the Titan, get the Titan shards, you can earn coins and stuff like that. They have little like doohickeys over there for them to buy things. I'm not very good at buying things, I forget, but my kids are obsessed with it. So they can earn these things with the battles, like wands and stuff like that. Again, I've been playing this for like almost an embarrassingly long time. So I've collected some things. They're going to start off with a lot less, but it also gives them a tutorial to start off with. They have specific like holiday themed things, except it's not specifically Halloween or Christmas or anything. It stays non-denominational. So it's Pumpkin Fest and Winter Fest and Bunny Time or something like that. Let's see what it looks like to battle a Titan. I don't actually know what it's going to give me. If it gives me something like ratios, I might be embarrassingly bad right now. So like, bear with me. When they do the activity, they have items that they can use to build themselves up. And then they have these different skills. And as they're choosing the skills, they will either raise their power bar or it will be lowered in here. So they might have to choose different activities. So if they choose Supernova and they get the question wrong, this isn't going to increase. It's going to lose some. And then they'll have less power to battle the Titan. But if they choose Falling Star Smash and they get it right, it'll grow. If they choose Supernova, it'll grow. So they have to make that in-moment decision too about like, how am I going to balance my scores? So let's go here. Don't know what's... Okay, so now it's giving me like 95% everything. I don't remember how to do this if my life depends on me. So I'm going to show you some of the different strategies that they have. So we can use counters here. Say we needed 3 counters. You can click them to make them a different color to show that you've counted them. You can have coins. I really like these because some of my kids are, I don't know what it is about coins, but that is one of the hardest skills for them to pick up. This is one of my favorite parts, the base 10 blocks, because they can actually move it and have these base 10 blocks that proportionally match, so that can see that this little unit is 1/10 of this rod, and they can be split apart. This 100th can be split apart into tenths, into hundredths. And then they also have the colors that they can use to draw all over the screen. So it stops toward the other things, but if they wanted to, they could just like cross out all this stuff. They could erase irrelevant information by just crossing it out. Then, if necessary,
Eric is out shopping and finds a tablet originally valued at $180. It is now on sale for 95% of the original price. What is the new cost of the item?
So based on this, it gives us the audio, and it does have that weird like mechanical voice, but a lot of times when they're doing things like Kurzweil, which is another resource that'll read things on a screen, or if they're doing testing, it's not like a teacher voice. So it also familiarizes them with this kind of weird like techno voice, just in case they find it in their future educational travels. For really complex things, they have the accommodation of a calculator. There are some times where the calculator pops up, the teacher doesn't know it, and they have to check in, but that really encourages what I do, which is as the kids are working independently, I walk around the room and kind of peek at what they're working on. So I can say, hey, for that particular skill, you're not going to use the calculator. And they'll be like, okay, keep an eye, make sure that they complete it without the calculator, and they're good. Right now, I can't for the life of me remember how to do this without a calculator.
That's okay, Sarah. So here's your 30-minute.
Okay.
30 minutes.
All right, so I've done that. I have 171. I press enter. You guys move the battle. Little sparkles to be like, yeah, you did it. And then it hits the Titan. You can see the power bar go down. Then the Titan gets to hit you back, or the person that you're fighting against. And as you can see now, there's more options. So if I wanted to do Volcanon, it's going to decrease this little power well. Oh, man. So let's say I'm getting it wrong. So In a lot of them, they'll say, see the answer, and they'll make the kids see the answer. They'll try to click out. Some of my kids will have meltdowns if they don't get it right, but it forces them to look at the correct answer, so they have to review it, which I personally really, really like, because then they can't just like throw off the test and the question and be like, I'm done. They can actually look at it. I haven't showed how to make assessments yet. All right, so basically that's what Prodigy looks like from the kids version. And let me show you how to use Google correctly, because apparently I can't do that today. Yeah, I have a lot of different ones on my computer. I've just used it all. I'm definitely not a robot. I can guarantee you I'm not a robot. Thank you. I love when robots have us do that. So let's say I wanted to figure out, let's say Miss DeWitt needs a particular assignment. So I click create, and there's 3 different options. You can choose a standard, which looks like this. And using the explicit language of the TEKS of your state, country, situation, it'll give you certain skills. So let's say I'm working on a 1st grade level with my kids, and I need to work with them on algebraic reasoning. It'll pull up all of the different TEKS that kids need to do. So this is actually really great for assessing whether or not a kid has the skill. So let's go right here. Represent word problems. So next, you write a name for a plan. If you know the TEK names and numbers, which I do not because I'm bad teacher, you can name it the name of the TEK, or you can do what I do, which is word problems, addition, subtraction. Click next. Choose your start date and your end date. So let's say we started there and we ended there. Create. This little dude will tell you exactly the amount of minutes that it's going to take the kids to work on it. And then, yay, we have that skill. If we go to reports, we can go to student comprehension and choose a student and see how they're doing. Or if we go to assignments and plans, I could go directly to this one, click view report, and I would be able to see who's really low, who's kind of getting it, who's got it, and what the average score of the class is. So let me go to one of my older classes. So it's not like, it's old data. It's students who, some of their names, most of their names aren't even accurate. So I could go here, and then I could go way back to, let's say, ordering whole numbers of 2019. So I can see that these students were at different levels. I can see the percentage scores. If I needed to, I could also look at a placement test. I could look at, I can see all the information for my current students as well, all the way back to August 19th. And it also shows me, was it an assignment that I designed myself, or was it a specific skill set? And that skill set is what I showed you the first time. So we have here, this is the first one that I showed you, and these purple guys look like this when you set them up. This is assignments, quiz student on a set of skills. This one I absolutely love because you give it to specific kids, and this is where the data management comes in handy. Say a student's IEP goal is to be able to add within 100 with and without regrouping. Boom, there's your data. You click next. You choose the number of questions. When I would click next, I would get where I would title it and then the list of students, but I'm not going to show that list of students because reasons. So let's say I don't know if it's going to let me. So if I click create assessment, and I wanted to do set of skills. Okay, so this is giving me a little bit of difficulty because it won't let me give an assignment without students, which, like, I guess makes sense. But you could see student progress on a specific skill. So it will give me kids who are working at grade level based on the placement test, below, well below, which is like 2 grade levels or lower. It'll give you where the kids are on their domain. So if I go here, I can look at data analysis. Where are my kids on their data analysis skills? I could go into reports again. I can see weekly activity. I can see who's using it when. I can see who did one on the placement test. I can see what topics they're doing well on and which topics they're struggling on. This actually ended up being really helpful for me because I was able to design IEP goals to meet exactly what the skills are that the kids were missing. Let me go to this one. So this one, I won't show you explicitly the names and everything because that's not cool. But if you can look on second grade skills, this is about the percentage. So I can hover. My students have mastered 5% of data relationships. Awesome. Now let's go to the first grade skills, which is where we've been working on. So this little guy will tell me that many of the addition to 20 skills kids are struggling on. So this means that addition to 20, that skill set I really need to work on. But composing numbers, they're at 50%, and one or more of the skills are a little bit difficult. But that makes sense because we've been still working on this. They're halfway through it, though. Place value, which is what we've been working on, a little bit of trouble. But if I look up here to like counting, they're solid. That's something that they're really strong on. So if I open it up, you can play along with it once you build your own classroom. But there's a lot of really neato things that you can, do to set it up. It gives you a calendar so that you can actually set up assignments. This is actually, if you look at it, this is how I take grades. A lot of my reading and math, a lot of my math grades come from this because it makes it really easy for me to set up everything. Hold on, went too far. I always forget that it goes weekly, not monthly. But if you look here, it gives the placement test, which is automatic. So it'll list all the skill sets and where they are in the grade level. It gives me the option to give different assignments for different grade levels. So for a first grader or a second grader, they got addition and counting. For my fourth graders, they got, or for my third graders, they got addition at like a first grade level. And for my fourth graders, they got addition at a second grade level. So I was able to name them different things and assign them to different kids. If I wanted to do the students with a standard, I would give the same standard to all of my kids and see what happened. At this point, I had multiple grade levels, so I didn't want to do that. But in previous years, I did try that. Let's see if it'll still show up. It's going to be a little bit of clicking. Apologies. Okay, so if you can see this, we pulled up the assignments that I gave. So this is at this point where I was like, okay, this kid needs this particular skill. Clearly word problems were a challenge for my kids. So I believe this one started off with like a first grade level word problem. And then this one went into a third grade level word problem because I noticed that some of my students were able to get there. But here, all of the students in my group were working on those third grade level word problems at this point because that's a skill that I needed to see where all of them were in comparison to each other and in comparison to grade level. So there's a lot of really cool things and fun things you can play around with.
Hey, Sarah. Just to let you know, it's 12:39, and you do have a bunch of questions that have been coming through.
Yes, and this is the perfect time for questions.
Awesome. I knew that. I felt that. So I'm gonna go ahead. There we go.
You guys can see me?
Yep, we can see you. And so, Ms. Stewart, did you write them down? If you want to read them, I can find them and put them up on the screen.
Oh, you're muted.
Ms. Stewart, you are muted. Unmute yourself, please. There. Do it one more time. There we go.
Okay, sorry.
There we go.
Can librarians set up an account and allow all students in the school access without scores or collecting data? Kind of like as a supplement for the librarian.
So the cool thing is you can access it anywhere. If a kid has an account, you're good. If a kid has an account with their second grade teacher and they're in fifth grade and none of their teachers have used Prodigy, they can still log in with that exact same Prodigy account, and it'll go back based on their most recent placement test, and then they can play based on that. So basically all the kids need is an account and they can go on Prodigy.
Awesome. Okay. Can you show us how to link it into Schoology? Can you?
I don't think I can do that just because that would be showing student names, but I can kind of explain it. The nifty thing that you can do actually is just copy paste the link. They can link it through Clever, and then it can be linked through either their Clever or their Google email. they can copy paste the link and have it just open up in Schoology so they can see it in that little Schoology box. And they can also put a link and then have it open in a new window. So it'll be kind of like if you embed a link for like Nearpod into it. So it wouldn't be the external tool part of Schoology, but you could do it in the same area where it does link, and then it'll just open that web page in Schoology.
Gotcha. Is the content for Prodigy teacher created, i.e. community created or staff created? I don't know, just curious, the person said. I guess, can you do either or?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go specifically by the TEAC, you can go into the program, and that's the choose your standard, and that'll give you the TEAC. If you want it explicitly activities or problems based on a specific skill, you can go to the second one, which is create an assignment. And the problems and things like that are designed by Prodigy, but also if you look at it, you can kind of, if you give one assignment, you can give yourself the assignment to kind of ahead of time see the questions. I've done that before and been like, I don't like how these questions are written. Canceled the Prodigy assignment, gone on and done it again in a different way.
Got you. Will this video be available to rewatch later? I think you already addressed that, didn't you?
I don't know.
It depends. So we've asked all of our presenters to let us know, and we'll send another email out to them on Monday if we can keep their content. We're very, since this is put on by a group of digital learning specialists and information library specialists, we're very aware of digital copyrights. So the presenter needs to specifically give us that permission, or we will be taking it down. So for the next day or so, it will be up there until we go ahead and take it down. And I'm sure that Ms. DeWitt is okay with keeping it up. No pressure. But
No,
but we also are asking our presenters to put in their information that they have into Sched. So yes, I think so.
Okay, and the last question that I see, when I selected sync with Clever, students cannot use their previous account.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been having a little bit of issues with Clever as well with that. The other option, if you work in a school district that has the Google, is just have it linked with their Google account, and they can make that work. Sometimes what I've had to do is kids have had to get new accounts because either they've lost the password, it won't link with Clever, typical tech issues. I had one that was like really disappointed about it, but they were able to restart the journey and they were like, oh, I already know how to beat this particular skill. So they can go back and like reboot it and redo it if they need to. And it stinks when they have to make a new account, but it's not always the end of the world.
Okay. Is Prodigy good for kindergarten?
So unfortunately, unless you have kiddos who have reached a higher level of skill than a kindergarten TEAC, it's not really meant for kindergartners. It's grades 1 through 8. For my kids who are on a kindergarten level in my resource room, I actually use something called Splash Learn. It's not as gamey, it's not as like RPG, but it is an interactive sort of play-based method to do math work online.
Question for the IEP goal. Can you reassign the assignments multiple times to get several data points?
Oh yeah, you can do like, if you have a kid that you're trying to figure out progress monitor weekly on, let's say, place value within 100, you can give the exact same assignment. So place value in 100 just checks the box over and over again and label it trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, trial 4. It'll give different questions each time. So it will still assess the skill exactly the same, but the questions and the way that it's arranged will be a little bit different every time.
Gotcha. I don't think there's any more questions. Someone said Splash Learn is good.
I like Splash Learn.
I think that might be it. You guys, if I missed a question and you want me to read it, please just type it again. I don't know. I think I got everything, Brad.
I think so. We'll give it a couple more seconds because there's a couple of second delay. But wow, what another great session, Sarah. And this is session, this is session 5?
5.
My
goodness
section 1.
gracious.
I don't know what's happening.
Well,
Okay,
we are
so
rocking and rolling today.
we are rocking and rolling today. So today's secret word, password of the day. Anybody remember the game Password? Only Miss Stewart and I are probably old enough to remember that game. How about Hollywood Squares? Anybody remember that game? I heard through the grapevine that they used to do a lot of drinking on that show, and that's why it was so fun. But today's secret word is tenacity, and it is case sensitive, so that T is capitalized.
Okay, one more question. Where
Ooh.
will we access the video? It's sketch.com.
Yes, so that you don't have to. Sked.com will remain there, and it'll be there and linked from there. And I don't know if you want to give this out.
They want your email address.
That's up to you, Miss. That's all right. I'm going to go ahead and put your phone number.
I would love to give my email address, but this year I have a mentee and another mentee, so I don't want to like overwork my school email address. But my Twitter name is on here. It's at Sara DeWitt, and I can respond to questions on there too. The only reason I'm hesitant to give out the email is because I got it, Brad. Everything is happening right now on email, and I don't want to accidentally like respond to the wrong email and be like, that's not what I meant.
Is that okay?
I got it.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. It's at Miss Sara DeWitt.
Yes, somebody from PBS has at Sara DeWitt, and I was like, oh, come on.
Well, crap.
Is that right? At Sara DeWitt?
It's at Ms. Sara DeWitt. I put it in a little private chat thingy.
Oh, that's what I just copy and pasted.
Yeah.
Let me do it again. Copy.
There we go.
Here we go. This is the right one, you guys. It's right now, I think.
It is. So if there are no other questions, we're going to end this session. And thank you all for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
So, Emmeline, the website is just going to be tcca2020.sked.com, same place where you got the schedule for today. And that's where this will still be up. They stay up each year.
Thank you, Sara, so much for
thank you guys.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it.
Hope everybody enjoyed their lunch today and didn't have to wait in line too long. And make sure that you're being careful on your way out of the parking lot today.
Drive
See y'all.
Bye.